New details now out in a true crime story that shocked America 30 years ago. The story of the West Memphis Three. Back in the early 1990s in Arkansas, 3 8-year-old boys were reported missing. Later, their bodies were found in a ditch. 3 teenage boys were then arrested, charged with the murders, tried, and convicted, sent to prison, one of them even sentenced to death. But years later, they were freed, in part because of the long-standing determination of our next guest, attorney and now Judge Dan Stidham, who spent years working on this case, exposing what happened, and he documents it now in his new book, A Harvest of Innocence. Judge Stidham, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining us. What a remarkable story that you have told here about quite a saga that really gripped the nation and obviously the lives of all the people involved. Tell us, why did you decide to write this book now?
Well, I just wanted there to be a factual account of what really happened. The case ended in such a controversial manner with the Alford plea, which is basically like a tie ball game, and everybody gets to say they won. But the problem with that is the teenage boys who now are getting close to their 50s, are convicted felons as part of the plea deal, but they were released. Damien Eccles off death row, and that's a pretty rare event. So this case has been in the news ever since 1993, and it's captured the wonder and imagination of the world. We're selling books in Canada. We're selling books in the UK, Japan, Germany, France, all over the world. It's just the WM3.org website, which was started sort of at the same time as the internet started, created a worldwide movement. Some celebrities got involved, and we created a small army and were able to get them out of prison. But they're not completely exonerated, so that was one of the reasons I wrote the book as well, is to try to get them exonerated.
So the record still technically shows that they are guilty of these murders, but you would like to see that cleared?
Yes, they pled guilty while maintaining their innocence, but it still goes down as a guilty plea. So Jason, for example, would love to go to law school, and he would make a really great lawyer, but he can go to law school, but he can't practice law because of his felony conviction. And in fact, when you're a convicted felon, of course, you lose some of your civil rights and abilities to do things. And so I was not an architect of the Alford plea. I want to make that clear to all your listeners. I was called the night before and was told that it was happening. And as the years went by, I started digging. No one wanted to talk about it. And when I finally discovered what really happened, I was mortified and decided I wanted to do something about it, and that was write a true accounting of the book and the story of the West Memphis Three. In April of last year, the Arkansas Supreme Court ruled that we can, I say we, I'm not, as a judge, I can't be in part of the defense team anymore, but I always consider it a we, but we're going to be allowed to test new evidence using advanced technology that we didn't have available back in 2007 when the original DNA testing was done. So this new MVAC technology is really amazing. And one of the stepfathers, a partial DNA sample was found in the knot tying the ligatures on one of the boys that was not his stepson. So it was found in an awkward place, and we're hoping to be able to amplify the DNA and figure out who did this. And we have a really good shot at it. I'm really optimistic.
I know we could speak at great length, and I'm sure you have in other appearances about the details of this case, and we're only doing a short little segment here. But in summary, is it fair to say then that there was never real physical evidence that connected the teenage boys to the scene of the crime where the 8-year-old boys were found murdered, and that there was always just sort of, what was it, like hearsay and anecdotal and that kind of stuff that brought the conviction about?
Well, probably the best commentary ever made about the case. And to answer your question first, there's never been any physical evidence or biological evidence, DNA or anything found that links the West Memphis Three to this case. The best commentary that I've ever seen about this whole situation is it's essentially just the prosecution's case is a well-told campfire story. And there was a huge moral panic, a satanic panic that had gripped the nation back in the late 80s and early 90s. And it caused the FBI to step in and do a comprehensive study. And there's never been a single case of satanic ritualistic homicide anywhere on the planet. So that completely debunks the state's theory of prosecution. And also we discovered through lots of hard work and dedication that the injuries on the bodies were animal predation. And they were gruesome, one involving genital mutilation. And we think it was alligator snapping turtles, which are pretty ferocious creatures. And also it could have been a raccoon or some other sort of small animal predation. So we completely blew their case out of the water, and suddenly we're pleading guilty while maintaining our innocence. And it really was a shock to my system, but it allowed me to keep my promise to my client that I would fight till the end to get him out of prison. I just didn't expect it to happen the way it did.
How many years did the West Memphis Three spend incarcerated for crimes they did not commit?
18 years and 78 days.
Wow.
And because of the plea, they can't seek any compensation from the state. That was the whole nemesis or genesis of it, I should say. It was a way for the state of Arkansas to get out of an ugly situation and save face. And they can always say they were convicted, and we can always say we're innocent. And now, with the retesting of this evidence, we may find a killer. It could be the stepfather, Mr. Hobbs, or my alternative theory is an over-the-road long-haul truck driver who's a serial killer. And I actually have a suspect. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to compare. He's already been convicted and in prison. I'm hoping that if we get a full profile, that we can run it through CODIS and perhaps link him to the crime if we can't do that with the stepfather. So we're fingers crossed and hopeful, and we're sort of expecting some results probably February or March. Right now the lawyers involved are negotiating, and anytime you have lawyers negotiating, it takes time. So we're just real hopeful. This is a case study in wrongful convictions, and people all over the world are just can't get enough of it. And it's never been out of the news in 30 years.
Fascinating details as is, but I know many more available in the book, which is A Harvest of Innocence, the untold story of the West Memphis Three murder case. The book is available now, and the author is Judge Dan Stidham. Dan, thanks very much for joining us today for this conversation, and a credit to you for your determination over the years to help these young men and to help your client.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have yourself a great Sunday. What a story, a true crime saga for those who are fans of the genre and those who are concerned about, the truth and innocence and the justice system. Looking over this story, these three teenage boys were, I think it's fair to say, were troubled throughout their teen years around the time they were arrested. And I guess that feeds into the idea that, okay, these guys must be the troublemakers. They were part of satanic rituals and so forth. Just saying, well, here's some troubled young men, and let's say it's them because we deem them shady characters. And, as anyone who's the parent of teenagers knows, well, yeah, people go through tough patches and tough periods, and kids are trying to learn who they are, or just learn how to behave and not misbehave, and sometimes behaving like juvenile delinquents. And I guess during this period, they were seen as easy targets for the police and for the prosecution. What a story. A Harvest of Innocence by Dan Stidham, available now.